Hey, this is Jack Downs. I'm going to run through some of the stuff we're doing in our second magazine class as we're transitioning from newspaper design. This will be the class that is done on April 25th. You really should be at a workstation where you can get InDesign because you're going to want to play along with me. So you go to Moodle, as I'm showing here, and one thing you're going to do is download the Featurize folder, zip folder. You can ignore these PDFs if you wish for now. In there, you're going to find a magazine template, our same magazine template, so you're going to open that up. I'm also going to be discussing the handout a little bit, so let me go over it now. So I've got the handout in PDF form, and I'll be sending it to you, or you can find it on Moodle. As you move into the magazine world, remember you have to embrace white space, make good use of white space. Increase the size of your heads, your drop caps, etc. Things are going to get bigger. We call this display type. Wider measures. Yeah, the single column measure we've had in newspapers, we will have nothing that narrow as far as the actual reading copy. No stroke on photographs. Photographs have no stroke. No date lines. That's the bolded or all cap words that start the first paragraph, the lead. We will take those off. No normal bylines. We'll be treating bylines some other way. Add leading for your headlines in particular. Auto leading is probably good. Restrict the number of fonts you use. You'll use a small number of fonts, 1, 2, 3, something like that, in different sizes and weights and so on. Consider where your photo credits will go. They're not going to be traditional captions. There'll be fewer captions when you even use a caption. They can go, the credit can sometimes go on, the cut line can sometimes go on the photograph. The credit can even just go vertically on the edge of the photo or something like that. Or sometimes it'll appear in the galley or gutter, or so on. Look through some magazines, you'll see how photo credits are often handled. There's a variety of ways. You're going to need page numbers. Now, we're not going to automate these as might be done in real production. We're going to have you put page numbers on manually. No jump lines. If the story is expected that it would continue on another spread, we're going to imagine that that is the next spread. And so if the story is not ended, you will not use a jump line. And the story will just be continuing there. So you're going to also, when you're really working on the magazine, you're going to need a project folder. Take a folder, put a copy of the template in there, and all the images you're going to use. So you might start, I suppose, with that overall magazine folder, and then maybe just remove the images you don't use, or just start pulling things from there. But in the end, in addition to the normal thing of creating a PDF, which you're going to submit to me, not for today's work I'm talking about, but I'm talking about the overall magazine project. And when that's completed, I'm going to want a zip folder from you, which includes the InDesign document and all the images you used. So I need a zip document from you of the complete project, and I need the PDF that's been created from it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do today is experiment with and potentially set up your magazine body text style. I'm going to suggest go through these processes here, and you can keep this list here, perhaps. In fact, maybe I will just select that. Well, I can't select it there, can I? Maybe I'll just select the list out of my other place and find that. So we can kind of remember those fonts. I think I've got the handout also. In general, you're going to see that our magazine body copy will be probably similar to the newspaper copy. We want it to be a serif font still, but it's probably going to be a little airier. It might be a little lighter as far as the stroke of the characters and so on. And here are some of the fonts that you might use for it. And then this talks about how to create that body style. Then we'll go on to something else. So this part you may or may not play along with me. I'm just going to show you how I would do it. And what I suggest is, I've got a document up here. I'm just going to draw a relatively small box, and I'm going to use edit. Where is that? Sorry, file. No, it's under edit, insert. No, it's not. It's under insert. Type, insert. Hold on just a moment. Let me find it. Sorry, it's under type, insert fill with placeholder text. It used to be called insert. And I'm going to select all that text, and I'm going to go to my paragraph styles and confirm that it is in our body copy as it's defaulted to. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on that. Okay. Do notice that these are gibberish words. They should be showing up in my spell check. Dynamic spell check. And if they are, that's good. But for this when you do this kind of practice work, you will remove that spelling. But remember to turn it on afterwards, because we don't want everything under red. This is kind of dummy text. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to copy it. So this is our regular body copy text. So what kinds of things will you do to find a new piece of text? The new styling of your text? Well, I suggested that you consider adding more leading. So if I was staying at 9.5 points, I would go to probably 11. But I'm going to go up to 10, and I'm going to make the leading 11.5. That's in general the kind of airiness that we're probably looking for. But I'm probably going to look for a different font also. And I'm going to go through this list of fonts. Now, I've given you some other files you could download, those PDFs that are in the Feature Eyes area. And this is what you could do with them. I'm just going to draw a picture box here, an image box there. And I'm going to duplicate it a bunch of times. And just going to lay it around here so we can just see it beside each other. Okay. You don't have to do this part. You can watch and you can perhaps do it later or something like that. And I have to go to my 318 and my type test. I made these scans of some magazine pages, just text, pretty much just text, what you grab easily. And they are some pretty major magazines. And now if I put them in here, they are at 100%, and that's good. And I'm just going to move the text, take one at a time, and go to the inside content and move it around so it's roughly at the top of the box and at the far left side. You see, these are not great scans, but that's no big deal. And also, I'll show you how you can make them look a little better too. That one together, and that one. I'm going to bring that up so it's near the top and move it all the way over so we're kind of getting the same position roughly. And I'll do the same thing for this one. And then by looking at these, you can see actually there's a lot of variability in the body copy that we have in newspapers. These are from magazines, 4 different major magazines, okay? And that's starts with like an ad or something there. But there, we'll bring that over and up. Now, why do these look so funny? Well, fuzzy because they are scans, and it wasn't a great scan. But it's no big deal because I'll show you any image that you bring into like a PDF that you bring into InDesign. May bring a guide down here, just sort of line them all. They're pretty well lined up. Pretty well lined up. It will look a little bit fuzzy, because it's giving you like a preview image. It's not, when you see images in InDesign, you're not seeing the real original image, you're seeing a preview of it. But if I select all those and do a right click and choose Display Performance High Quality Display, it will improve them somewhat. They're not quite as crisp as real text. So what do I see here? I see, as I said, there's a lot of variety. I personally think this one is our best choice to kind of emulate, and this one is pretty good too. These are quite small. They're smaller than our normal size texts, are very similar. One thing we can do is just step back and look at kind of the color of the text, we call it. It's how gray or open or dark or light the overall text appears to be. And I think we're headed down the right direction with this one. And then I would just try some different fonts. And for instance, I could try some of the choices that are shown in here. The suggestions you could try are Bookman Old Style, Cambria, Centaur. What's Cambria look like? If I remember, that is something I kind of like. I personally like that. It's quite similar to what we have, but it's just a little bit slightly different, finer type perhaps. But there's a lot of other ones you can try. Eventually you'll find something you want. I also think, I'm going to select all, I also think you might want to look at tightening up a little bit. I'm just going to do a -10 on tracking, sorry, on yes, on tracking, and then a -1% on scaling. It can kind of make it look a little like the words go together better. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. So what I do, let's say when I eventually, and you eventually, today or some other day, choose your body copy style, and you're in your magazine template, well, your magazine document, and you want to save the style as a save style. Here's how you do it. Select the text, some of the text that you're going to use. And now I'm going to go to Paragraph Styles, New Paragraph Style, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Jack Body. You give it a name that is unique and also one that you can make sense to you, that you can find it. How about the other way around, so it's alphabetically correct in the better place? All right, good. It's okay for it to be based on the body. I can look through these basic character formats and see that is what I have selected, and it looks good. Advanced character formats, yes, a little bit of that stuff. We could play with indents and spacing. You could consider a slightly less indent. If we look at the other choices we have here, they have a variety of different indent sizes. So I'm going to leave ours the way it is. You can change it a little bit less. I think that would be the way to go if you did change it. These things don't have much of anything in it for us. Hyphenation, if you do some research on this, people have very strong feelings about what these numbers should be, and justification also. This is called H&J, hyphenation and justification. And it does have a lot of impact on how the text flows together. We're going to leave those basic numbers in there, but again, you could research it and play with those. And the other choices down below are really nothing much to help us, so we'll say OK. Now, I have a style called, oops, where's my paragraph styles? Come on. Yes, it just stuck in one of those stupid libraries. Okay. Paragraph style called Body Jack. And if I grab a paragraph, just put my cursor in it, the paragraph styles Body Jack. I can now make my text be the text that I want to have. Okay, that was a little bit about how you're going to research and find your own body copy style. Remember, I also want you to make at least one headline style. I want those to be in the document, in the magazine document that you're actually going to work on for real, not like what we're doing today. Okay, so let's continue along. I'm going to get rid of this stuff here, but the style will stay. Okay, I'm working in some of the back pages of a magazine template. So I've moved beyond where it says spread to. I'm here. And I suggested that in the instructions that you go grab the something, what do I say? The 4-column 2-head shape here. 4-column 2-head. One thing you'll see when you drop it down here is it does not match our template overall. That's okay. You can leave it like this for now. And I told you I wanted you to go get from the Featurize folder, which is someplace. Actually, I've got an earlier version right there, but it doesn't matter. To go get the Hawking story and drop it into this first one. Actually, we're going to get that message we're used to, say skip, and then you can click outside, select all the text, and I'm going to place it in what? My new style. If you're just using the old styles, don't worry about it. Body Jack. And I'm going to select everything, copy it, and paste it in here. Oops, sorry. There. All right, so what else are we going to do? A bunch of things, actually. You probably, just to start for purposes of saying we're doing it, why don't you style the byline normally? So I do paragraph styles, byline 1, and the second line I'll do byline 2. Okay, but then I want you to remove the byline and place it in a box over here. Okay, good. And what else? I want you to remove the date line, and I want you to make this to be 3 sticks, not 2. Remember, you can find that in Control B and other places too, actually, which is the number of columns. So make it 3. And I'm going to remove this. Now, in newspaper work, we do generally remove or don't use date lines. If we're using copy that already has it, you could look through to make sure it's not important that you mention that place. But in this story, it's not important where that place is. It's just about Stephen Hawking. This is an old story, but it's actually a real story. So what are we going to do here? Well, a couple of things. I think that we need to perhaps do something special and different with that byline. So here it is. I think what you could do, for instance, is we could change the font, or we could at least just make it bigger. Let's say 12, and we'll say on like 14-point lettering, we'll make it a lot bigger, and we could center it. Oops, where am I centering? Center it. There it is. And we could close the box up to it all the way around, and we could add some text wrap. And I'm going to make it P9, which is the size of our gutters. That's something else we could change. We could have researched what the gutter width on magazines generally would be. And I'm going to go stick this down in the text someplace. For now, I'm going to put it kind of out of the way, like here. And I'm suggesting that that is an example of potentially how you could do a byline, although there's other ways you could do it too. And we'll come across one of those. Let's write the headlines for this stuff here. And I'm going to say for the main head, hoping for ET answer, a question mark headline. And I'm going to center that. Oops, come on. I'm having trouble with my centering button. All right, and then I'm going to have a secondary headline. And let's say Hawking, NASA differ on danger of outreach to aliens. Okay, don't worry that it went all off the page here, because I want to present this quite differently. I want to suggest one way to do a magazine-y kind of display for headline, turn it into something like what we call call-out text, perhaps, is we could put it down into the text. Okay, make it narrow the same, which is a little hard to do sometimes. I could have zoomed in; it would have been easier to see. The same width as the stick of copy. All right, and I'm going to then open up that box. Come on. There it goes. All right. Outreach to aliens. I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to center it. And I'm going to perhaps, I want that 2 going to the next line. Shift Enter there. And I could either add a little bit of text wrap to it, or I could just open up that box a little bit. And eventually I'm going to want to make sure that I have the lines be in the same place. So it's going to have to go down to about there, so I get things to line up right. And I'll just use that extra space below the box, like that. This is what that looks like so far. So a different kind of headline. This headline could still come down nearly on top of it for now. Okay, let's talk about doing some other stuff, which is maybe blowing up that first paragraph a little bit. All right, I'm going to put a blank line here so we can see this paragraph better, and select it all. Change the leading to auto and increase it to like 12 point. So it's big, and that's okay. The idea of having a bigger first graph and then flowing from there into regular text is good, or potentially even making it the first line all caps. And of course, we could be doing a drop cap. How do we do a drop cap? Put my cursor in there, and I'm going to go to paragraph. This is not paragraph styles, but paragraph. And to pull out for paragraph, I'm going to go to drop caps and nested styles. And I'm going to click on preview. It is on, and my cursor is in that paragraph. Okay, this is what I call an on-the-fly drop cap, as opposed to making a style for it, which you probably should do eventually too. But I'm going to say we're going to go to, this is going to be 3 lines, and it's the capital C that's doing that correctly. Is using our regular body copy, which I don't like too much, but we can change that later. I have no character styles to apply to it. However, I do think we're going to align left edges, which hasn't changed it that much, but I'll show you why. Because of the first line indent that's screwing us up. And I'm just going to say, okay. All right. What do I mean the first line indent? This paragraph has first line indent. I could find it here. I could find it in the paragraph styles also. This is the paragraph folder itself. So I'm going to change that to 0 and hit enter to remove that. Okay. Also, I think this would be better in the same font that I'm using for my headline, which is something else you could change. So that's Times New Roman, which is there. Also, if I didn't like the big gaps I was getting, I could set this in align left, right? And potentially even the entire story in align left. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave it all like that. So that idea of creating a different kind of byline, If that red X is bothering you, I can get rid of that. Must have a blink line in there, yeah. Perhaps insetting the text. This is not a magazine layout necessarily, but it's got some elements of it. And we're going to do something different on the next one. So let's go down to the next grid, and this time we're going to drag another box out. Okay. For column 2 head. Yes. This time I want you to drop in there the diesel story. Sorry, the fast story. And it's the same thing. It's going to give us that message because we've got bad fonts in this document. It's okay, just copy the whole thing. I'm going to stick it in there and paste it in there. And now I can set my new body copy, which is going to be paragraph styles, body jack. Yes, okay, good. And again, I'm going to take the byline off. Okay. This time I'm going to leave it being this narrow measure because I want to do something different. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to paste it in a box. Okay. What am I going to do? Let's first write some headlines on here. Okay. I'm going to do the first top headline. I'm going to make it all caps and call it fast. Well, single quote, fast 5. And the bottom headline I'm going to say latest in furious. We're doing quotes on these because they're composition names, composition titles. That's the movie name or franchise. Puts pedal to the metal. Metal. Okay. All right. That's pretty basic and newspaper looking, but let's do something very different with this headline. Let's change it to Arial, and let's change it to Arial Black. That definitely looks much more fast and furious to me. I'm going to center it. Let's also say we're going to change the, going to go to Object, Effects, and we're going to go to Drop Shadow. Now that drop shadow, I think, is too heavy. So I'm going to bring it down to like 30% or something like that. And we could do other effects, but I'm just going to drop shadow for now. So I'm going to say OK. Remember, this was applied to the box and not to the text. So you have to have the regular selection tool to make object effects work. OK, good. And we'll leave this little headline here the way it is right now. But what I want to do, something that's very different, is I want to take this text, and it could be wider, of course. I want to use an outflow box we haven't used before. This upper outflow box. I'm going to select it. I'm going to draw and see that I'm flowing the story backwards into another box. It's staying connected though, which might be helpful and useful to stay connected. I put it on top of this box, make it wider, and I'm going to go back so I just get the first. Oh, that's right. I'm not showing that box, am I? That box is being obscured by the text wrap. And I also have to make sure it's object arrange, bring to front, that it's on the top. I think it is. But I need to tell that box, object arrange, bring to front. I guess it already is. I need to tell that box not to be bothered by the text wrap on there. Is that what's happening? Yeah, it's kind of actually going behind it, I believe. So it doesn't have text wrap at all, probably. It does not have text wrap. Well, that would do it then. Okay, so it's going to go on top. And I'm going to go back so I just get the first paragraph. I'm going to make that paragraph much bigger. We're going to make that like, again, we're going to auto leading and make it 12, even 14 points. Okay, and again, we're starting with a big graph, but we're starting a big graph in a different measure than we normally been starting. I can also add a little bit of text wrap underneath this thing, break that chain, add a little down text wrap a little bit. It's pretty close to lining up down there right now. This is what we have so far. Okay, but let's go ahead and make a different kind of drop cap here. Yeah, for instance, this drop cap is going to be, I'm not going to make it as a style right now. You've seen how to make a style. It's similar ideas. I'm going to go to paragraph again. and I'm going to go to drop caps and nested styles. All right, and I'm going to go to again, let's go 1, 2, 3 lines and align left edges. I have no character style to add here. If I did, it would make more sense because I want to use that same big black style there. And I'm going to say okay. Again, I have to remove my first line indent. And I'm going to select my I from if and change it to also be an Arial and black. So that's more interesting, right? And what would I do with this? Well, I could, in this case, I could make it a lot bigger, 12 on auto, and I could center it again and stick it someplace, like down in the text. And I'll go ahead and do that. Whoops. Center it. Come on. Okay. And I'm going to close it up around it and give myself some nice text wrap. And I'm going to hook it on again to be linked, and I'll make it P9 because that's our gutter width. So that makes sense. I could use regular text like this. Okay. I've got a little bit of, oh, that word is slipped down here. Oh, I know why that happened. Because I got an extra word there, right? So I'm going to have to align that down a little bit and bring it back up to the same spot. Okay, something like that. I could actually use more space below there. I think I could use another blank line, actually. It's going to be something like that, I think. And then I will probably put an enter there to push it down. No, I've got to use an inset there, or a blank line in there. But we can work that out. And eventually we'll get that lined up nicely with the other line, and we can add extra space. So that's all working out pretty well. However, I want to show you one other thing about how to featurize an image a little bit. So let's go ahead now. We're going to use this image box because we don't care about having, I'm going to draw outside the copy. We don't care about having a rule on it, right? A stroke on it. So this is bigger than we'll make sure it's at least as big as we need. It'll probably be a little bit deeper than that for now for start. Okay, I'm going to go and grab an image. Let's grab the diesel image. There it is. Okay, I just wanted to show you, we'll fit that image first. I like to do fit content proportionally, then close the box up to it. Okay, good. I just want to show you a quick way to do clipping paths on an image, sort of an image cutout. We're going to, with the object selected, with the regular selection tool, we're going to go to Object, Clipping Path, Options. And here we want to choose Detect Edges. And what has happened almost automatically is we have a little clipping path all the way around here. See, the background has disappeared, dropped out. And we are using the image. So these settings are all fine. You could play with these settings if you wished. I say OK. Now I'm going to put that image into the text. Oops, no, not like that. But the box itself into the text. And you might say to yourself, what's happening? Well, we don't have our text wrap on. Text wrap, but we're going to use wrap around object shape. Okay? I'm going to bring it up. It's going to push the text around. Let's bring that to the front. I think I'm having a little glitch with InDesign right now. Okay, let's do Control-0. Try to zoom in a little bit. Okay, let's see if I bring it back up again. I'm lost. Oh, I know what it is. I've just lost part of the box isn't open big enough. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up a little more. So we're going to put the text, put it like there. And I'm going to, you see how tight it is to his body? I'm going to increase the text wrap amount. Okay, so this would probably be better for a wider copy, but that is a way to do a quick and easy. If you have a photo which has a very uniform background and is distinct from the person, a quick and easy clipping path you can do. Okay, so this is obviously some featurizing ideas, but this is still a newspapery layout. How could you make this something that's much more magazine? So let's take this one, this Fast 5 one, and change it dramatically. So I'm going to back out and talk about some of the elements of a magazine spread. I told you in my first beginning remarks that we wanted to have the text to be a lot bigger. Display text. I went over flush left or a line left again. So I'm going to close this box up to the text. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a different way to size. I'm going to Control and Shift and grab it and just yank bigger. Control and Shift and yank it bigger. Then do Control and make it a little bit taller too. So I've made some pretty large text, but I make it even bigger still, something like that. Very large text. Okay, good. I'm going to take this headline and move it away. I'm going to use that paragraph on its own. I'm going to bring this guy down. We'll move him out of the way. So that paragraph, that initial big paragraph, can now just be an element on its own, but it can be close to the beginning of the story, which could be here. Okay. All right, good. But I'm going to do wider measures, I told you. So I'm going to make this down to 2 columns. Okay. So it's much wider. And I'm going to drop that down for a ways too. I'm going to grab this guy and move him over here and make him a lot bigger. And he's probably going to actually go off the page to the trim mark down here, so he'll be trimmed. Bring this text down. Bring it all the way over to this gutter here. Something like that, perhaps. Bring this up a little bit. And now I'm going to grab this outflow here, click on it, and draw myself another text box over here. And I'm going to also make that 2 sticks. Okay. And I'm going to bring in another photograph, a great big photograph. We have a bunch of other photos to go with this. And I think that one's called Fast 1. I'm going to just drag and drop it on the page. Nope, not that one. Well, if I don't know what they are, I can do a right click and choose View Extra Large Icons, and I can see that. That's the one I want, the one with the gun. Drag and drop that there. I don't care that it came in without a stroke. I'm going to set it right about here. It's going to go off to the off the page there, so that's going to bleed on that side. It's going to cross the gutter, and it can even be a little bit bigger, like that maybe, or something like that. Now this guy can come down a little bit, and my main headline could also perhaps. Maybe I'll bring this right down to about here, so it feels like it leads into it. I could make that the same width as that or not. I could make this even a little taller headline. Okay, wherever this goes, I'm definitely going to want that to be at the same point. I can't get my guides to go over both. I'm sure there's a shortcut key to do that. And I put this down here, and I want to take this headline and do something different with it. Okay, I'm moving it over here. I'm going to go ahead and make it also Arial. And make it also Arial bold, black, I mean. And I'm going to make it narrower. And put it in the middle of the text. And I'm going to give it some text wrap. Again, I'm probably like a, well, I can't, I have to do the regular selection tool. Text wrap of P9. And I've got to tell it, okay, that's to send, go to the back, object range, send to back. And I have to tell this guy to go get even bigger. So we're going to make him like, I don't know, 36 in auto letting. It's going to be enormous. And he's going to extend beyond here and grab it and center it. The text, come on, there. So this headline now becomes really like we call this a call out. And it could go there. And a text wrap is still not very good, is it? No, it's not. P9. 9. That's better. Okay. See how this is going, and where is my byline going to end up? So this text goes to there also, and it's going to end in the right place, whatever. Well, this byline could go down here. Right? I could just stretch it out over one column, perhaps even. And put even some dashes or something, and I could style that up a little better. Maybe make it italic or something. And I could play with that some more. I think I could dress that byline up a little bit more and put it along here someplace. I still need my page numbers. I still need, but this is where I'm headed. Still a little bit more work to be done here, but this is where I'm headed with turning that simple featurized newspapery sort of thing into a really a designed magazine spread. So I want you to do something like this with this piece. And if you want the extra credit, save it and export a PDF as usual and put that PDF in the Dropbox. So that's some ideas about how we move from a traditional newspaper piece to a featurized newspaper piece to a magazine spread.